Welcome back to the NPH Hour on News Talk Saga 960 AM. I'm your host, Jason Thom, with a guest I wanted to have on for a while. NCAA assistant coach and Scarborough native Jamie McNeilly, who comes from a basketball family of players and coaches, who for a decade now has been one of just a handful of Canadians coaching in the NCAA. McNeilly comes from the Roy Rana coaching tree and up until this year had been on staff with Buzz Williams, who actually coached McNeilly when he was a player at the University of New Orleans. After joining Williams at Marquette as a graduate assistant, the two then moved on to Virginia Tech. And in 2019, Williams signed a 6-year deal worth more than $24 million with Texas A&M. But after 2 seasons there, one of which a tough one during the pandemic, despite holding the upgraded role as associate head coach, McNeilly decided to leave Williams' staff and part ways. At 37 years of age, with a wealth of experience coaching the likes of current NBAers Jimmy Butler, Wesley Matthews, Jay Crowder, and a plethora of Canadian talent through his time with Canada Basketball's age group identification teams, including the U19 gold medal team from 2017, McNeilly has become one of the star young coaches anywhere, not just from Canada. So I wanted to have him come on the show and share his path to talk about why it's so important for him to reach back to his native land and help others. Jamie McNeilly just recently announced as a new assistant coach at TCU, just a few hours north of his previous stop at Texas A&M University. Coach, you started your run with head coach Buzz Williams when you were a player at the University of New Orleans, then moved on to Marquette underneath him as a coach, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M. Was the decision to move on simply needing to start carving your own path within the coaching ranks after having that much time with somebody who I know you considered a close friend in Buzz Williams?
Yeah, I would say, especially in this business, I was with him an unusually long time, but it was all good. My growth with him was great, and so just kind of went from GA, video operations, learned the business, kind of took my time growing in the business. Obviously, every coach coming in just wants to jump in, be assistant, become a head coach, but a lot more that goes into it. So I kind of got my feet wet under him and started to grow, and my role started to grow. And it's just kind of time I spread my wings and get out there a little bit and see what the next step is. And got extremely lucky to get connected with Coach Jamie Dixon. He's an unbelievable human being. Great person. My connection with him was with the assistant coach on staff, Tony Benford, who was actually the associate head coach at Marquette when I was a GA. Oh, wow. And so he kind of brought me up in the business a little bit, taught me more than anything else, just how to treat the players, and him being a former player as well as myself. You know what a good coach and a bad coach kind of feels like as a player. But when you get into that role, you have to figure it out a little bit. And so I was fortunate to have, I would say, a mentor type figure in Tony Benford throughout my career. And when I was kind of spreading the word that, kind of looking and seeing if there were any options, he kind of jumped at the opportunity, said, "Hey man, you'll love it here. You'll grow here," and kind of filled me in on what he thought my role would be with Coach Dixon. And it only made sense. Great people on staff. Just excited. A new step, new step in this adventure. So
no, I know what it's like. Sometimes you get really comfortable in a place and you're not looking other places, and you're almost selling yourself short because of that, and because of like that loyalty maybe that you have. But I think people see the glamorous side of March Madness and the NCAA tournament and all those other things, but decisions like this don't come easy, especially for yourself. You have a wife and 2 kids. What goes into that as well, because, you're not just picking up and packing up a duffel bag and moving up the road. Right. This is a pretty massive thing, right?
That's right. Yeah. My wife, Shola, she's from Scarborough as well. We went to the same high school, Mother Teresa. She played ball. We both played for Coach Rowe grassroots. And so we have a strong connection, strong bond. We've been kind of together through different continents and different states, different countries. And so we've been through thick and thin. And so when you kind of make it on the other side as an assistant or somewhat of an established assistant, you quickly learn that you give all that power back to your wife because she spent so long sacrificing. So it's all about getting her and the kids as comfortable as possible. We've been in college towns for maybe 7-8 years now, and both being from obviously Toronto, we want to get back to the city as best we can. And the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you couldn't ask for nothing nicer. It's basically Toronto, just never cold. So
and I want to get to, you mentioned all these different continents. You're on another continent when you first decided to go on this path of coaching. Just tell us that story. You I guess it was 1 year pro in Germany, and then you kind of have two pathways to take. Like, just tell us about that.
Right. Like coming out of high school, just like every other good high school player out of Toronto, you want to go to NBA, right? That's your goal. That's your dream. And then as your college career happens, you just kind of have to use some intuition and kind of see what's going on and see which way your career is going. I was mid-major player, all-conference player. I was good. I had a chance, but I knew kind of what it was going to be. I would have to go, especially at that time, early 2000s. Mid-2000s, I'd have to go overseas and kind of prove myself, and that would be my path. And getting the job in Germany at Heidelberg was unbelievable for me. Loved that experience. The German people were unreal as far as how nice they were, and that community was great. And I remember on my kitchen table in my one-bedroom apartment in Heidelberg, they had faxed over a contract team in France. And I had that contract, and literally almost as I'm putting that contract down, I'm receiving a call saying, "Hey, I want you to be a GA at Marquette and make nothing." And so it's either I'm making nothing for 2 years, getting my master's, or it was about, it's enough time has passed. I think about $70,000 contract in France. It was like I was a pretty good player. I wouldn't say I was an NBA level player, but I thought I could make six figures overseas if I kind of worked at it, stuck at it. And that contract was almost proof that, hey, you can take the next step. And so giving away that money, it might not even have been the right decision. Who knows, right? You just kind of, I was taught by one of my assistants at UNO, Coach Clark, great guy, we just connected, really, really good guy. And he told me, hey, there's no such thing in basketball as good or bad decisions as far as where you want to go, what agent you want to pick. You just have to kind of make your decision and make that decision work. And I kind of held that close to my heart because I didn't have a lot of guidance. Was an all-league guy in JUCO, and we took that team, me and a few other guys who were pretty good. Probably shouldn't have been there as well. We were ranked like top 20 the school wasn't even close to being ranked ever before. Yeah. And I was the only first Division I scholarship to come out of South Georgia Tech. And there was one more the year after who was a teammate. And then the one after that, I happened to coach in college. And that, I don't know if you know who that is. He went to the same JUCO as me, and I coached him at Marquette. Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder, that's the other. And Jay Crowder's been making like yearly visits in the NBA Finals at this point.
That's exactly right. And wow. He is what he has always been. And imagine him and Jimmy on the same team. I'm the workout guy, GA, so I'm in the lab every day. Like, they think I'm helping them, and I'm like, no, you guys are giving me the cheat code. Like every other player after you guys, all I got to do is do what they did and just do it as good as they can. So I was lucky in that regard. But to get back to kind of what I was saying, I didn't have a lot of guidance, right? So I just kind of stuck to whatever coaches I thought knew what was going on and that I trusted. And then when I saw that contract and got that call, I just kept thinking, hey, let me make a decision for 10 years down the road. Mm-hmm. And my back hurt. I had 2 herniated discs, but I never went. I was not the type to get x-rays or get stuff checked out.
Means you'd miss a game. Why would you want to do that?
Exactly right. I had bad heels, and just it was wearing on me. And especially college, my last year is just, I averaged 39 point something minutes a game. Yeah. And it was just a lot. And I said, man, I know in 10 years, everyone that's my age kind of coming out is going to want to get into coaching. And how much of a head start can I get? And I basically used that mindset to say, hey, let me throw this money away, this beautiful French money, and go to Milwaukee where it's freezing cold and make nothing. But lo and behold, Jimmy was a groomsman at my wedding. I'm really close with all those guys, Wes Matthews, Jay. I was in the lab with them every single day. And so I sharpened my sword as a young coach with a group. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better group. And in the old Big East where I would play teams like the old Jimmy Dixon Pitt teams with Wanamaker and Blair and Sam Young and those and Levon Kendall and those guys. So, I mean, we're in the best league. I was on one of the hottest teams, making really close, long-lasting relationships with some of the best players in the world right now.
Wow.
And so just really fortunate in that regard where, again, was that the right decision? I don't know. I probably would have a lot more money in the bank if I had kept playing. But I think looking back now, I made this one work for me. And I think that was really important for me. So.
But is that why you maybe stuck with it after all those years? Because you said you didn't have an awful lot of help, but look at how many players you've now helped. And not only ones that you've coached, but ones that you've been connected to just through people through Canada and now kind of helping navigate these NCAA waters, because there's tons of misconceptions out there and you've been able to help so many.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, JT. And that was my goal. My goal was to get to this level. And like I was telling you before we got on, just when you get in through that door, hold it open for as long as you can and let as many Canadians through as possible. I had a good maybe hour and a half talk with Nikhil Alexander-Walker a couple of days ago. And I mean, 5 minutes about ball, maybe, just like how he played. And he even knows my job's not to be your NBA coach. You know, I was your college coach, and my job was to help do the job that the Shane James and Jermino Sobers did with Canada Elite, and just do that at the highest level to get you through. And it's the ability I have now to kind of help ensure the Nikhils make it. They'll make it with me or without me, I think. But just to be that, listen, I've done it this many times with this many guys like you, and this is how they've done it. So we can use this way if you want it. And not only players, I've had so many aspiring GAs reach out. Hey, what visa do I go on after my GA year? What's an OPT? What's the difference between a TN and an H-1B visa? How long can I get a TN visa for? Where do I apply for one? All these questions, like I literally had zero idea. So I'm walking up to border agents I don't know here, and reject, yes, no. And so I don't mind taking those lumps and bruises because I have purpose. And my purpose is, listen, I'm going to get as many Canadians through as possible. And now with different avenues kind of appearing, it's only better to me. Like it's more opportunities for more players. Just happy to be someone that some people could kind of look to for that kind of guidance.
And you come from a basketball family as well. And what's the greatest thing about your basketball family is that they've all taken different paths, right? You mentioned, Jay coaching at Seneca, and, say Adika playing at home at the U Sports level and now in the CEBL and absolutely tearing it up for the Edmonton Stingers. So you can give a wealth of background to people about all the different paths. It has changed since when you came up, where you had to get a D1 scholarship.
That's right.
Because so many people, you weren't going to be able to graduate post-secondary unless you had that paid for, and the basketball was the way to get there. I'm not saying that was necessarily your situation, but it was a lot of people's situation. And now it's changed. We have 150 in the NCAA, but maybe we shouldn't. Maybe there's 20 guys that actually should have stayed home at U Sports because they may get further in their career. So you can kind of have it from both worlds, the positives and negatives, and the fact that people can make it these different ways now, right?
No doubt. And I've also played with and against a bunch of guys that have went different routes. Osvaldo Genti, me and him kind of came up against each other. I was Scarborough Blues. He was with the Ottawa team. I can't remember what their mascot was, but so we came up every year battling, and we're at a road game in Germany, and I'm warming up, and I'm like, that guy looks like Oz, man. And he goes, yo, Jamie. I'm like, whoa. And it's like, look, Division I all conference player and one of the top youth sport players, and we're meeting up in the same place. And like Coach Clark told me way back when I was at UNO. You got to make your decision, not what everyone else is saying. And whatever your decision is, you're responsible for making it work. And the way basketball is now, especially with cameras and all this multimedia stuff, they're gonna see you, and if they see you and it's what they like it's a small world now.
I mean, you were a part of the assistant coach of the biggest accomplishment in men's Canadian basketball history, in my opinion, the U19 gold medal in Egypt back in 2017. I've had a number of those players on this show, and we talked about a bunch of different things related to it. But from a coaching standpoint, how special was that team for you to be a part of? And I want to know, again, from a coach, what did you take from that? What did you learn maybe about yourself or going forward to change your coaching?
Yeah. So it was I think that world championship was a long time running, and I do agree with you. I think it was the greatest accomplishment in Canada basketball history thus far, and it'll surely be surpassed. But up until right now, that U19 world championship was a Canadian one through and through, as far as who was a part of it, who was coaching it, who was the admin. And so I do put that on a pedestal, not just because I was a part of it, but what Coach Rana has done over the course of that kind of FIBA run with the underage group. And I was so fortunate to kind of be able to get on with him. He asked me when I was at Marquette if I wanted to be a video guy, because he thought video was a key missing component in Canada basketball. No video coordinators before me. It's at the underage, I was the first one. And so he asked Canada basketball, hey, can he come on as a video guy? And they kind of, like, as they should, kind of look sideways, like, a video guy, like, for underage T, like, no, you could get him as an assistant, but not a video guy if he's going to do video. And so I kind of got lucky with that as well. So Rana made room for me on that staff. He looked out for me again. We're watching video in 2010, individual sessions with guys before, after practice in group settings. None of them have ever been through anything like that. We take what was a good training camp, and we say, hey, how do we make it the best in the world? And again, all Rana's vision. He loved some of the stuff we were doing at Marquette. Some of the I was over a lot of the stats while I was there. And we kind of took all paint touches, all these concepts that were kind of fresh at the time, and we put values to them. We kind of put a face to a lot of those stats. And so it goes from kind of that to, we had 2 prep tournaments on our way to Egypt, and full staff, full training camp. That growth, that's when we won the world championship, and shout out to RJ and Lindell and all those guys are unreal, how good they are, and how proud I am of them. But they shot the baskets that went in, and they get the credit, they get the ring, and I'm through the roof happy. But that was one with, so countless players just trying things we're asking that we don't know will work. Hey, I tried this at my school, or I did this with Ryerson, or back in the day, or I did it with Eastern, and we're just really trying stuff, and the admin and everyone 100% support. And so it seemed like for about 10 years there, at least when I was a part of it, we were kind of pushing together toward that goal. Hey, how do we put this age group team over the top? So that experience, when we won the world championship, I remember telling the guys when we were back at the hotel, like, you guys have no idea the magnitude of this championship. And I also told them this, I don't think everyone that's in our basketball community right now understands the magnitude. They just are creating an expectation, and we either lived up to it or not. And so you're going to tell your great grandkids that you won the first ever world championship in Canada. When they write a history book in Canada for Canada basketball, we get a page. It doesn't matter. We're going to be on that page. We're almost, that's a little piece of our immortality or our gift to the basketball community. And again, a lot of those guys were 10 when we started, right? They were 8 or 9 years old when we started. Emmanuel Miller he was the young guy on that team. He was probably 8 or 9 when we got started with this. And so just seeing that maturation process of our group of coaches, Kirby Shep, Scott Morrison, Coach K, Coach Weir, Meeks, just a group of people that, man, it might be any 2 or 3 combination of them, but you know who it is. And there was complete trust. And one other thing I think I'll give Rana a lot of credit for that pushed it over the top is we tried to make it a year-round thing, not necessarily come to camps and stuff like they're doing now, which is amazing, but just our relationship. Are we calling these guys once a month? Like when I'm calling Xavier Rattan-Mays to come play on the team, when was the last time I spoke to him? And, and just establishing that connection, I think was key. And me being at the Division I level, being around those high major type players all the time, Rana really leaned on me for that part, which, I mean, you have your recruiting calls when you're a young coach, but these calls here were kind of what got me going with recruiting, just connecting and staying in contact with guys throughout this whole process of kind of courting them to play on the national team.
It's not too often that a guest's interview needs more time on the show, but I wanted to also talk to Coach McNeilly about a life-changing moment in his life that wasn't about basketball. He actually wrote out Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, and after the break, he talks about that and how it changed his life. That's coming up next here on the NPH Hour on News Talk Saga 960 AM. We're back on the NPH Hour here on News Talk Saga 960 AM. Jason Thom here to bring you the back half of my interview with NCAA assistant coach Jamie McNeilly, who has just joined the staff at TCU as he revisits a massive event in his life and many others. Back in 2005, while he was a player at the University of New Orleans, he and some teammates found themselves directly in the line of Hurricane Katrina, a Category 5 storm that cost over $125 billion in damage and forced a mass evacuation, including a car full of student athletes that soon realized they only had each other to rely on.
I always kind of considered myself mature, and I was always able to kind of hold my own and handle my own because of how I was raised. I mean, my mom's is probably tough as it comes, and she was kind of making sure everything as far as how we were raised and how we would handle ourselves in tough situations. She did an unbelievable job with me, I thought. And so lo and behold, maybe about 4 or 5 days before I go down, she goes, listen, there's a hurricane coming, just stay home. And what would any kid that's 20 going down for their, sophomore year of college or junior year of college say? Come on, chill out. Like they have a plan or whatever. So if you fast forward some time and a lot of drama, we were stuck. There was no coaches. There was no admin. There was no plan. Obviously every school down there has a plan now, but before Katrina, there wasn't. So we were stuck about 20 minutes outside of New Orleans in a car, bumper to bumper traffic, so there was no inbound, outbound traffic, both highways kind of going out and bumper to bumper. And we end up half hour, 45 minutes outside of New Orleans, Picayune, Mississippi. And I was one of my teammates in the car. There's 4 of us in the car. One of my teammates in the car, his grandmother lives in Picayune. He's from Seattle. So it's just like, whatever, but okay. And so we said Picayune it is, because we were trying to go to Atlanta or Houston. So we just picked Atlanta, and we got stopped quite early on our trip. And so we were stuck in Picayune without cell phone service, running water, electricity, impossible. There's no roads. I don't, it's hard to imagine, but a week, like from Katrina till about 2 weeks after, there's no, like, I can drive here. Everything's everywhere, including houses, just so you could kind of get what's going on. It felt like they were throwing fastballs at our house, like with a baseball, like pitchers, like 4 or 5 pitchers every 10 to 15 seconds, boom, like a fastball was hitting the house. And then we called her grandma quickly. She became our grandmother within minutes when we got there. But I was like, Grandma, how could the train be running during like a hurricane? What's going on? It's like, no, honey, that's not a train. That's a tornado. And I'm like, tornadoes? It's a hurricane. She's like, yeah, there are tornadoes and hurricanes. The next morning we wake up, and that night, you could imagine, was the shortest and longest night all in one. Like it kind of happened quick, but every time anything happened, anything made a sound, you didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't know if it was going through the house, if it was going through the window that you're laying your head next to. You kind of just, and it's Southern Mississippi, not the nicest neighborhood ever. It's a bungalow, 2-bedroom. It's a very modest house. So we get out the next day, and we walk around, four of us, 6'9", he's a cop, Nate Parker, Sammy Badawi, 7 foot, Jacob was 6'7", and then myself. We get out, we start walking, and 2 houses down across the street, the house is just a slab. So we go to the slab and we look down the street, and you can see exactly where the tornado went. And you can see exactly kind of how it ravaged. And I'm talking 50 yards, maybe 50 yards from where we were. And so didn't get in contact with anyone in Toronto for 5 days.
Wow.
Finally got to a payphone in Jackson, Mississippi. We ran out of gas 2 or 3 times. We were asking for food. I stayed over in the Memphis Greyhound. And for anyone that goes to Memphis, please go to that Greyhound station. And I was there for 24 full hours. And finally made it to where my now wife was at. She was playing at Lindsey Wilson, NAIA in Kentucky. Wow. And called my mom, brother. Everyone's crying. Everyone's relieved. Two things happened to me at that point. One, basketball no longer became the most important thing to me. And then the second thing that happened literally during Katrina was I don't know why, but I had this like itch to want to make sure like something like this doesn't happen to someone in our family. That like it was almost like I just want to take care of everyone, because it felt almost as if like I'm trailblazing for my family on this path, and I messed up and this could turn really bad, and I don't want that to happen again. So I think those 2 things happened to me. And I think practicing, I guess, empathy toward players is really important to me. And I think that totally put it into perspective for me. And I always kind of go back to that point anytime I'm on a player and go, well, what would that player need if I were to call my coach, or if my coach were to get in touch with me in that moment? And can I be that for that person? And I know they're not going through Katrina. It's not that bad, but I am getting on them kind of hard. And how do I make sure that, you know, if they were in that situation, I'm treating them like how I would want to be treated. And so I think that really, it gave me perspective. And honestly, I was only like play ball, didn't really like enjoy college. My senior year, I enjoyed my senior year. I went out, it was New Orleans, I went to the French Quarter. I went to Bourbon Street a few times, things that I just would never do in a million years. I kind of said, hey, I got a second chance at it. And I almost kind of felt like that going through Katrina, but unreal experience. And so many kind people helped us on that path. We wouldn't have made it. Police officers going out of their way, seeing that we were college kids and 40 lines to get gas, they wave us to the front. We had no money, went to 2 or 3 restaurants. They gave us food for a few days. Just things like that, where it's like, whoa. So if someone comes to me for help, I remember what it feels like to really be stuck. Like, not kind of like nowadays you have your phone, you're never really stuck.
Yeah.
But if someone's stuck, I'm a help. So
just imagine a kid out of Scarborough and everything that you've went through and everywhere you've went for the sport of basketball and what you've accomplished, man. I just, congratulations on it all. But I think above all, I love the fact that we continue to all work together to push the sport forward. And I know you're going to have a lot more involvement with Canadian basketball in general going forward. Players individually are great, but I see great things on the horizon for you. And congratulations on the new spot. And I can't wait to see as the path continues, my friend.
All right. No, I appreciate it, JT. And I love what you're doing as well. I love the platform. I love that you had a bunch of guys that I've coached and or worked with. The basketball community is growing. You and I, we're stewards right now. And, it's up to us. We gotta take it to the next level. And that's my goal. You could make a ton of money doing this, or you could make next to nothing doing this. But if it isn't to make it a little better for the next group, I don't think it's fulfilling. And so it's funny at this level, the money is there, the prestige is there. But if that's what drives you, people see it so quick, and it's annoying to be around, even as a Division I coach, because you're around it all the time. So just the fact that, we're kind of at the front of Canada basketball right now, pushing it forward with behind the scenes work and everything we're doing. It's an awesome thing. And I appreciate everything you do as well, because this platform, not too many people have all those world champs from 2017 on. So I do appreciate everything you're doing as well.
That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Visit NorthPoleHoops.com or North Pole Hoops on Instagram, at NPH Scouting on Twitter. I am at _ Jason Thom. Thank you for listening to the NPH Hour here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.